afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this lunchtime webinar. I really appreciate it, especially as the sun is shining and it's Friday afternoon. I'd first of all like to thank the team at Code for inviting me to speak on behalf of them today. Thank you ever so much. I'm really passionate about treatment coordination, so it's great to share my thoughts and feelings with everybody. At the end of the webinar, I am going to be answering questions as well. So if you do have any questions, please send them through, and we'll go through those at the end. Hopefully I'll answer lots of your questions as I go through anyway. But yeah, let's get going. So I'm Laura Horton, and I just need to share with you first of all what my passions are. I am really passionate about patient care, patients having a fantastic time when they're in dental practices, because yes, that can happen. We know it can. I'm really, really keen to help change people's, the patient's perception of dentistry into something really positive. We all know how much the public whinge and moan about dentistry, and the Daily Mail's definitely got it in for us. But I really am wanting to change people's perception of dentistry. If we do it one patient at a time, that's fine. And in with that, I'm very passionate about upskilling the dental team and really getting the team involved in the dental practice and helping it to develop as a team rather than it just being about the dentist. I like to work with dentists to help them focus on their practices becoming profitable, but also for the dentists to do more of the dentistry that they love. I often have dentists say to me, "Laura, help, I had a day full of exams yesterday and I'm just can't do that ever again. Help me, I'm not working on my passions." And it really is important to work on your passions. I do, I'm very lucky, I know, but I like to help everybody within the team. So in regards to my background, I started off working in dentistry 17 years ago now. I can't quite believe that, and dear me. I had lots of experience. I haven't been a hygienist or a dentist, but I have all the t-shirts. I've been a dental nurse. I always loved doing reception. I've been a treatment coordinator, practice manager. So lots of experience in the time that I was in practice. And the last role I had was fantastic. I ended up managing 2 practices, running a training academy, and I had to let go of the TCO role purely because I couldn't do it all the time. I didn't want to get rid of it completely, but I had to, make that difficult decision to reduce my time. So I trained team members in each of the practices that we had. And that's where I had my light bulb moment in 2008, where I thought, yes, this is my business idea. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to, work with team members and practices to implement this fantastic role. So I've been doing that since 2008. And the company name was Laura Horton Consulting, but I rebranded last year. Although we work with practices to help develop their businesses, the TCO role and the implementation of that is at the heart of what we do. It's the core of what we do. And to the point where even last year we launched a TCO qualification as well, first one in the UK, which is very exciting. And we're about to start the second year application process very soon. So enough about me, let's talk about you and the TCO role. So how do TCOs increase profit? Well, I'm going to talk you through these key areas in a lot more detail this afternoon, but really it's about increasing conversion rates, case acceptance, and the dentist hourly rate as well, really helping to make the dentists earn more, which I've never met a dentist yet who doesn't want to earn more. Even just yesterday, someone said to me, "Oh, dentists are loaded, aren't they?" And I was like, well, no, not really, because there's so many costs associated to running a practice. It's unbelievable. People don't even realise. So, that role doesn't help to increase hourly rates. In regards to who you have in this role, I want to talk you through that. But the first thing I must say is that the ideal for you is that you have a consultation room where the TCO can see patients. You ideally want to have a non-clinical environment. And I know that is really tough for some practices. What the majority do is they convert the office. So the majority of practices do have offices. They're usually full of clutter, files and cabinets everywhere. But to have a really good clear out and then to convert the office into a multi-purpose room. So it's an office and it's a consultation room. And, it does work well, being a multi-purpose room, and I'll share why with you in a second. But in regards to who you put into this role, they are a member of the dental team. Ideally, if they're GDC registered, that's fantastic, only because the role can become so much more than what I'm going to go through with you today, because you can use scope of practice, and that's fantastic. But one of the key things is that they have to have dental knowledge. And this is where you find members of your front desk team move into the TCO role, because they are day in and day out talking to members of the public, your patients, on the desk about their treatment in layman's terms. They're so used to doing it already. So many practices do have key team members on the front desk. Yes, they might have been nurses, they might still be GDC registered, but what I'm trying to get across here is that it doesn't have to be a dental nurse. A lot of people think it does, it doesn't. It's the dental knowledge. I am also really, when I go into practices and train teams, please notice the plural there. I'm a big fan of cross-training. You can't put yourself in a position in the practice where you only have one person being able to carry out this role. So you do need to look at cross-training others to provide backup as and when needed. Unfortunately, holiday is a legal requirement, so people will have time off, and you don't want the systems to fall down. The role itself as well doesn't have to be full-time. That's why I'm saying if you have a consultation room that's also an office, it works well as a multi-purpose room, because it doesn't have to be a full-time role. The person doing it is, so important. They have to be a people person, and they have to have the ability to actively listen. Now, that in itself is a skill, and yes, skills can be taught, but some people, and you'll be able to identify them in your team or in your personal life, actually do not have an ability to listen, or to, listen to what someone's saying and then ask an open-ended question linking on from what they've just said. So actively listening is very important. You don't necessarily want someone who can, speak for the United Kingdom at 100 miles an hour, because although they might be good at speaking, can they listen? Because the key thing about the role is listening. So what do they do? These are the 4 aspects. These are the basics of the role that I'm going to go through with you, okay? Initial consultations, free consultations, and I'm going to explain the difference between the two shortly. And they help the dentist with treatment planning and treatment options as well. Now, many people think that the TCO role is just about going through the options with the patients, and I really need to stress that it is not. And actually, I don't like that at all. I feel that when treatment coordinators only meet the patient for the first time, when treatment coordinators meet the patient for the first time and it's to go through their treatment plan and talk about money, that's when the role moves from being an educational role into a sales role. And I just don't agree with it. It's awkward for the person, for the TCO carrying it out. It's not nice for the patient either if they've just met that person for the same time. And really, it's not about, that caring, is it? It is more of a sales role. So you can't do it like that. That's something I really stress. This role is all about building relationships with patients. You can't do that when you're saying, hi, here's your treatment plan, these are the different options, and how much can you spend? It just doesn't sit right with me. The TCO's responsibilities are to build relationships with the patient, to provide an outstanding customer service experience, to change the patient's perception of dentistry into something really positive, but also to build value in the treatment in relation to the fee, because that's one of the key ways that we actually go wrong in dental practice. We don't build enough value in the treatments. It's not like buying a new pair of shoes or a new bag where you can go and try these things on, have a look in the mirror, have a walk about. Dentistry is not like that. So we have to build value with our communication skills. And again, that doesn't work. TCOs can't do that if they're meeting the patient for the first time and just talking about their treatment plans. So I will talk about other responsibilities that they have as well later on, but let's talk about your profit. How can you increase your profit using this role? If there's anything you take away from this point of view, I want you to take this away. So to the dentist listening, time is money. That is the profession you're in. The money that you earn, the fees that you generate, the income that the practice turns over is all dependent upon your time. And for the team members listening, that's what you need to understand as well. If the dentists aren't treating patients, they're not earning any money, and the practice needs a certain amount of money to come through just to make it a viable business, let alone a profitable one. So time is money. Free consultations most definitely work without a doubt, and I'm going to explain the process to you a little bit more. However, when dentists do them, we've got an issue there because the dentist is providing their time for free, so automatically their hourly rate has gone out the window. The other aspect of it is that because dentists are doing free consultations, most of them think, well, obviously I'm doing this for free, I'll just book 10 or 15 minutes. And actually, the whole process is really rushed. And the other aspect with dentists offering free consultations is that dentists are dentists and they just can't help but look in the mouth. You've got to get your mirror and probe out and see what's going on. So essentially, you end up doing a really rushed examination and giving a clinical opinion for free, which just devalues you like you won't believe. You know, you might be listening to me now and thinking, actually, Laura, no, you're wrong. And free consultations work for me. I'm a great salesperson. I'm great at converting people. But I tell you now, if you look at your conversion rates from exam to treatment and average new patient spend, the difference is dramatic when you're using a treatment coordinator versus using a dentist. Because when dentists do free consultations, you are devaluing yourself. You might not feel like you are at that point in time, but later on you are. That's when the patients try and get a deal from you, you know, and sort of, you know, being funny about the costs, and you have to negotiate with them because they don't see the value. And as I said earlier, that's one of the biggest problems we face. The other thing as well is you really need to spend time getting to know the patient. And this, yes, it's a fact. Everyone knows this, but I've just got to reiterate it. You know, building relationships inspire trust. And, you know, as dentists, you need to inspire trust in your potential patients. And you need to know the patient's motivating factors for treatments as well. If you know their motivating factors for treatment, their needs, their goals, their objections, it really helps you in treatment planning processes to move away from being a single tooth dentist to move into being a comprehensive dentist that's looking at the whole mouth. Because otherwise, if you don't get to know these motivating factors, you're just looking at the single tooth. And, you know, the TCO can really help you with treatment planning and options to reduce your non-clinical time there as well. And so I'll go through that all with you, explain all the systems to you now, so it makes a little bit more sense. So first of all, with free consultations then, get on the right slide, Laura. So with free consultations, these really are your backup plan. I always insist that the patients are always offered an examination with the dentist first of all, of which they pay for, of course, don't forget that. If the patient says on the telephone, oh, I need to check with work, I need to get my diary, etc., all these excuses that they make, it's then great to say, that's not a problem at all. Another solution we have for you is to offer you a complimentary consultation with one of our fantastic team members over a coffee and a conversation. They can talk you through all the options available to you, show you some cases that we've treated ourselves, discuss the fees, and there's no obligation to go further if you don't want to. How does that sound? What you will find from that is that patients suddenly have their diary. You know, they suddenly don't need to check with work because they're going to have this free consultation. The other thing with free consults is they're not for every possible patient. You need to triage them. So are there particular treatments in your practice that you are marketing for? You know, whitening, cosmetic dentistry, orthodontics, implants. They're the type of patients that you want to book into a free consultation, not just Mr. Joe Blogs who's looked at your website, sees that you do free consults and thinks they'll come and waste your time, because that does happen, by the way. But, you know, you want to triage the patients into the free consultation. It's really handy for your front desk team as well. It really helps them out. But when the TCO is, you know, doing this consultation, they're screening your patients for you. So the great thing for dentists is that when a patient has had a free consult and they've converted to an exam, that patient is pretty much going to go ahead, 90% going to go ahead with something because they've been pre-screened by the TCO. And during this appointment, they'll have met all those responsibilities: building value, customer service, building relationship, changing the perception of dentistry. They'll have done all of those things. You know, they're going to have quite a bit of time with the patients, 45 to 60 minutes for a free consult with patients. And they really get to build a fantastic relationship. They will also personality profile all of the patients for you as well. I'm a big fan of the DISC profile system. I've actually got a pre-recorded webinar on my website about that if you want to go and watch it. I can't digress onto that today, but we all know that every patient's different and they need communicating to in a different way, so the TCOs identify that. What I will say, just to share with you, because this is a worry that people have about the TCO role, treatment coordinators are not allowed to recommend treatment to patients. Only dentists can recommend treatment when they've done an assessment, and a lot of people have a worry about that. And I'm happy to share with you that when I go into practices and the TCO role is already starting, people are already doing free consults, often they've already fallen into the trap of holding clinical consultations and recommending treatment, and that is not allowed. All treatment coordinators do in free consultations is show all the options available to the patient in dentistry, just like dentists have to. So if a patient has got a missing tooth, the options are do nothing, denture, different types of dentures, bridge, different types of bridges, and implants. And then it's just asking the patient which option they like the sound of, not which one do they want. And then explaining to them the next step, which is to always come back and have an assessment to find out which option that you're suitable for. TCOs, although they have 45 to 60 minutes with patients, they're not talking non-stop and the patient's not falling asleep. You don't have to worry about that. The way that they communicate to the patients is so different. It's all open-ended questions. The TCO is doing 20% of the talking for the majority of the consultation because they are actively listening, having an open-ended, emotionally based conversation so they can find out what the patient's motivating factors are and what they've had in the past. They'll be getting a history and finding out really so much detail for the dentist. It just saves them so much time.